How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys Alex and Ryan. So today we're talking about Jazz Chisholm, and this is a polarizing player. John Heyman of the New York Post reported that the Yankees are interested, have had some internal discussions about the idea of adding Jazz, who is obviously an outfielder but has experience at second base. He wants to be a second baseman. Now, he's not going to be like astronomically better defensively than Gleyber Torres, and look, we're not looking for like crazy great defense. We're looking for offensive production. We're looking for impact on the base paths. And Gleyber Torres, I mean, he had a couple of moments last night that I was wondering how the hell he's on an MLB roster. Like swinging at pitches, not even outside the zone, like just waving at him. The first strikeout he had of that game, waved at it. It wasn't even competitive. And I'm wondering to myself, what the hell happened to this guy, man? Like, it doesn't even look like the same player that we saw last year. A different player entirely. And listen, we talked about this yesterday. Look, I know he's in a contract year and the pressure's on, but there's no excuse for this level of deterioration. There's no excuse, right? He has to perform better, and I just don't know if he's going to turn things around. He doesn't look like he's even close to becoming the player he was last season. So I'm not expecting some monster turnaround this year. The Yankees, if they can go out and get a great player to help offset that kind of deficiency and maybe offload Gleyber Torres with scraps in the bullpen, I'm all for it right now, man. I'm all for the energy and aura that Jazz Chisholm brings to this team. And the reason is, the guy can do stuff on the bases. This Yankee team is one of the most embarrassing teams I've seen on the base pass in recent memory. They had an opportunity to send Trent Grisham around on third base, and they just are so conservative, man. You cannot hit right now. You can't hit. You have to. If you have a chance to get a guy to home plate, you got to send him, man. There was an opportunity, a fly out to right field, and they didn't send Trent Grisham. And you gotta send him. Like, just we're not scoring runs. That's the difference between winning and losing. And at the end of the day, they're being left on base. This team is leaving more runners on base than I've ever seen. So, Ryan, looking at Jazz, do you think that this is a guy that could really make an impact here? What kind of package would you be willing to give up for him? I know this team could use an influx, an injection of just raw energy, and he certainly brings that to the table.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of second on the point about this team on the base paths, they are the slowest team in terms of sprint speed in baseball, right? We talked about last year, they were the slowest team in baseball, and hoping that would change. That did. They're still the slowest team in baseball. They have, one steal? Like, they had, 20 games without a steal. We've talked about that. They're the worst base running team in baseball, according to base running runs. I know that there are good teams who are bad base running teams. Like the Houston Astros are 26th, and I know they haven't been great all year, but they can hit, and they're usually towards the bottom in terms of base running numbers. But you would kind of expect that from the Houston Astros. They are a little bit of a slower team, but they're still negative 5.3. The Yankees are negative 10.7. Right? This isn't. This isn't it's not like the Yankees are just bad. They're unequivocally awful. In fact, the Yankees are the worst base running team in baseball since 2021 at negative 32.1 BSR. And I think that's a massive reason why, you talk about how embarrassing they look on the base paths. Yeah, I mean, they don't know how to run the bases. They're extremely slow and don't know how to run the bases. They make outs on the bases. I think Chisholm would help them a lot in that regard. He has plus 1.8 base running runs on Fangraphs, and he's in the 98th percentile in base runner run value on StatCast. Offensively, I know that people have their concerns about his bat and mention, he only has a 107. I mean, they don't really mention WRC plus, but they're like, he's only hitting this, whatever. He's a guy's a 107 WRC plus. Objectively, that's a huge upgrade over Gleyber Torres. I actually think he'd get a lot better at Yankee Stadium. His road home splits are really staggering. He has a sub 400 slugging percentage at Lone Depot Park, which is in Miami. And that ballpark's not good for lefties. It's 334 feet to the shortest part of right field. Yankee Stadium, that's 314. So we're talking about 20 feet of difference. And StatCast actually has a metric, expected home runs, which can factor in for that. And he would have had 17 home runs if he played all of his games at Yankee Stadium versus the 12 he has right now. For context, 17 would be the second most for any second baseman. It would be the second most for any second fielder, which is the position he plays right now, behind only Aaron Judge, who has 32. So it's not really close. But, I think that Jazz Chisholm would fit this team like a glove. I think he brings power and speed, which are the two things I'm targeting for the Yankees Yankees at the deadline offensively. I know that people want guys who can move people over. I know people want, the Renjifos of the world or whatever, but I want the Yankees to be able to change the game with one swing because only 3 guys in their lineup right now can do that, and that's that's Soto, Judge, and Rice. So, and Rice is a rookie, so like, I mean, how much do you really want to depend on him to be like your cleanup hitter, to be like your third best hitter? That feels a little bit much. I think we kind of anticipated Rice would come up and be like a 110 WRC plus hitter. He's exceeded those expectations, give him credit for that, but I think it's unfair to place that level of burden on a first year player who is still kind of new to professional baseball as a whole. And then Alex, kind of just to pass it off to you like this, I know people want to find the perfect player. Oh, I don't want this guy, I don't want that guy. This deadline is going to be awful, right? Like, there are not going to be a lot of good players moved at the trade deadline. I'll take whoever I can get, right? Like, I'm at the point where, like, I mean, I would prefer to not get Rengifo. I've talked about that. But like, I'd rather have Rengifo over nothing, I guess. Like, if you're sticking your nose up at Jazz Chisholm, nobody on this team plays with intensity. Nobody on this team really, not nobody, but nobody on this team, not everybody on this team plays with intensity. Not enough guys on this team are aggressive in zone, are hustling on the bases, are trying to push the tempo. Jazz Chisholm plays with intensity on a god-awful team, on a team that doesn't even invest in their players, like a team that clearly doesn't try to win. Let's put him on a team that does try to win, and let's see how that kind of plays, because I think his intensity, I think that's exactly what they need on and off the field.
Yeah, I mean, look, right now, with the All-Star break just around the bend and the deadline coming up fast, it looks like, a guy that you love and Sam love, Jonathan India, the Reds are getting hot. Like, they're playing well, and they're inclined to buy, not sell, according to Heyman. The phones are ringing off the hook for Luis Rengifo, but of course, as you said, Renjifo's not at the top of your wish list. The Rays are, seemingly, at least according to their GM, are not ruling out a push to the postseason just yet. So we don't know if they're going to be selling. And then the Rockies are saying that Ryan McMahon isn't going anywhere. Rockies doing the dumbest thing possible with a player who's having a career year. Career averages over 7 seasons are below 100 WRC plus, and they're refusing to move this guy. The Rockies stink, and their pitching is horrible, and they don't want to get more value from a guy that's absolutely going to regress to his career averages at some point. Rockies doing Rocky things, and then you look at the Yankees, who was really out there, right? Who is available aside from the guys that we've listed? Rengifo seems to be available, and Jazz Chisholm, who could come in and give you that aura, give you that instant impact. But here's the thing about, a guy like Jazz Chisholm. You get him on base, he's going to make things happen. All you need is a single to really bat him. If he gets on base, walk, single, he's going to steal second. And then a single drives him in. It's as simple as that. Sometimes the small ball, you can't play small ball. And this is where I think the Yankees have run into a major problem, right? They've gone down this path of wanting to pair slugging with small ball, right? They want to make contact. They want to get hits. They don't have the speed to play small ball. And I think that's what we're realizing now. Hitting singles, you're not driving in Giancarlo Stanton on second base with a single. You're not driving Aaron Judge in with a single, or even Soto or Glaber. Nobody on this team has a 80-plus percentile sprint speed except for who does? Freaking John Birdie. Maybe Volpe's like hovering around there, but this team doesn't have the pace to play small ball and get singles and drive men out on second base. They just don't have it. You know what I mean? So you're trying to play the small ball game, but you don't have the speed to capitalize on base hits. And you're leaving a lot of men on base because of it, because you're getting on base, but then you can't hit with runners in scoring position. I mean, the fact of the matter is the Yankees are losing games, and they were losing games when Aaron Judge was playing at an unbelievable, like almost unhuman level. But to start July, he's been really bad. Right? So now you're seeing this offense literally is relying on the home run balls they have in the past, which is okay if everyone's contributing, but you're really just getting value from like Ben Rice and Austin Wells, the guys hitting home runs, and then Soto occasionally, right? Right now, this entire team has no identity, right? The offense has no identity. Are they slugging? Are they hitting for contact? All I see is Soto sitting on third base with no outs, and Aaron Judge is flying out, and they're getting two straight strikeouts. That's all I'm seeing. Guys being left on base, left and right. Jazz Chisholm is going to turn a single into a run. That's kind of what his game is all about. He's not a high OBP guy for the most part. I think what is his OBP this year, like 320, something like that. 324. He's hitting 255, decent batting average, 107 WRC plus. He offers above average offensive contributions, 12 homers. He's got some decent power. You know, he's good enough to help in that area. 18 stolen bases already this year. He could hit 30. You know, like, this is a player that the Yankees need, not because he fits a good role at second base, but because this guy is electrifying on the bases, and this guy's an electrifying offensive player, and he celebrates like he just won the World Series after every big moment. You know what I mean? This team has no energy or personality. You watch them, they're just standing around, hanging their heads. Even when good things happen, high five. You know, there's no life to this team. They need a guy that's going to bring some damn aura to this team. And Jazz Chisholm, as polarizing as he is, as many people may say we don't want him, this guy is going to bring you freaking aura to this team. And I think that that's an underrated perspective. You know, Ryan, what are you thinking about in terms of that, you know, kind of narrative? But also, what are you willing to give up for him? Like, what kind of package do you think the Marlins are going to ask him in exchange?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, you know, for the most part, like, my philosophy is always, like, I mean, not that field stuff is fluff, but more that, like, you know, players, I think, are considered better off-field or have better character based on their winning, right? Like, if you win a lot, he's a great leader, he's a great this. If they don't win a lot, he's not a great leader, this, that, whatever. But I actually, like, this is new for me with this team, because I actually kind of feel like this team, some guys just don't have it, right? Like, some guy, like, come on. Like, I mean, again, that effort on Friday really, like, sticks in your craw. It really, like, it rubbed me the wrong way for so many reasons, because it's like, how does that happen? How do you play that kind of game? You get punched in the mouth, you get swept by the Reds, and then your response is whatever the hell that was. Then you've got Rodon, he didn't make adjustments in Tampa. I remember tweeting out ahead of the Cortez start, don't throw a lot of cutters. It's not going to work. Tampa, you know, they're geared to pull the ball, whatever. That was his highest used pitch of the start. He got shelled, right? Because predictably that was going to happen. Of course that was going to happen. The Rays always gear up for the cutters. So I just want to know, like, is Cortez doing a game plan? What's Rodon's game plan? Are they pitching to their strengths or to a hitter's weaknesses? I get pitching to your own strengths, but you also got to, you know, at some point when you keep getting your ass kicked by Yandy Diaz, you got to start asking yourself, all right, should I start trying to attack his weaknesses? Should I maybe get away from what I usually do? Try to mix things up a little bit here. But, you know, I think Chisholm, he does bring a little bit of, like, that intensity, that energy, that, like, I'm going to force the tempo here. I'm going to force some action. I'm going to try to steal second. I'm going to get an extra base. And look, he's going to get thrown out. That's going to happen. He's going to get thrown out. There's going to be a big spot. He's going to be, like, in front of Soto. He's going to try to steal second, get thrown out, and then we're going to be like, what the hell is he doing? But that's part of it, right? Like, I understand that that's part of it. But as you alluded to, this team does not have the personnel to do that, and they're trying to play that station-to-station baseball. Their brand needs to be, I get two guys on, it's 3 runs because I'm putting up a 3-run bomb. I know that the whole Trevino bat, he got screwed. He did. He got unequivocally screwed. 2 pitches out of the zone that should have been strikes. Should have been balls were called strikes. He got 5 balls in that at bat. But he got into a 3-1 count, into a hitter's count, and he got a pitch to hit. You got to offer at that. You put yourself in a 3-1 count to swing, to put the ball in, to do something. You know what I mean? Like, that's why you're a pinch hitter, right? If you're brought into pinch hit, and you're in a 3-1 count, like, the pitch should be shaking in his boots. It should be the worst. That should be an opposing manager's worst nightmare, because the pinch hitter is supposed to come in and, in my opinion, look to hit the ball. I understand that, you know, again, Trevino should have walked, so I'm not fully getting on him for that bat. But I was looking at the numbers. Alex, over the last month, no team in baseball, and it's not close, has a lower swing percentage on pitches in the heart of the zone, which is right around the middle part of the plate. You know who are the 4 guys who swing at those pitches more often than the league average over that stretch? Rice, Wells, Volpe, Judge. Volpe's just not doing damage on those pitches. I'm not trying to give him credit for that. Like, at least he's aggressive, but it's not working. Soto, you give him a pass because he's selective and whatever that may be. Chisholm is not that kind of hitter. He will attack those kinds of pitches. I think that's important. And for the rest of this lineup, play with some damn intensity. Stop trying to pass the baton to Judge and Soto. You need to come up with the big hit. It needs to be one of these guys who come up and get a big hit. It needs to be Verdugo getting a big hit. It needs to be Volpe getting a big hit. It needs to be Torres getting a big hit. Because for the first time since April, Judge is finally slumping, and this team is dead in the waters offensively. Does Judge deserve a pass for it? look, I'm not saying he deserves a pass, but like, given what he's done over the whole season, am I going to kill him? Absolutely not. Am I going to kill Soto for having a mini slump in like June? No, he's playing with his hand. Dude, he's swinging. His hand is basically, he's in pain, and he's hitting doubles and home runs to the opposite field. Why can't anybody else on this team put some form of intensity? Stop relying on Soto and Judge. Do the damage yourself. I think Jazz Chisholm's capable of that, and that's why I have a lot of interest in him. And of course, the speed, just everything. And I think he's a better defender than Gleyber at second. The defensive numbers in his career have been really good, but I do have to adjust for him not playing since 22 there. I forget how long it's been. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe a little rant, but whatever. But yeah, Alex, I mean, my phone fell again. This team has to play more intensity. I think Chisholm brings that to the table.
I mean, he absolutely does. And like you kind of said, the defensive metrics look fine. He hasn't played there in a while, so you're expecting maybe some, maybe some like small margin of error there. But at the end of the day, no one's going to give a crap if he's hitting and running the bases and producing and doing good things to this team. Like, that's really all we want, is just offensive upside. And listen, Gleyber Torres is a black hole right now, man. He's sitting in the middle of the Andromeda Galaxy, sucking in black hole material, whether it be freaking gases, whether he's just an absolute detriment to this lineup. And you just think about what this team needs. They need energy. And look, with scoring position, Ryan, we haven't even discussed this. You want to know what Jazz Chisholm is hitting with runners in scoring position this year? Do you know the numbers? No, you don't know. Okay, well, you're going to be really excited about this. With runners in scoring position, he's hitting .361 with a .460 OBP, .583 slugging rate, and a 1.043 OPS with 3 homers, 31 RBIs. The guy is unbelievable when runners are on base. And you know what the Yankees are really bad at? Runners being on base. So, like, this is a good thing for Jazz, mainly because he's going to help contribute there. And then if he's hitting well with runners on base, you know what happens? He gets on base. And then he gets to steal a bag. And then he gets himself into position. And then suddenly you find yourself, all you need is a single here, and you have Jazz Chisholm crossing the plate as well. So, I think this team could use a player like this. They need somebody. Look, love Aaron Judge. Great guy, great captain, but he leads in a specific way. He is a team guy. He is an industry guy. Like, he is the face of the franchise, and everything about him, his aura is very much professional. Jazz brings the fun. You know what I mean? Like, Jazz brings the fun back to baseball, and Judge brings the professionalism to baseball. I think having that blend is a perfect equation. You know what I mean? Because you can have fun, you can do it with some swag, but you can stay professional. And I think that Judge keeps everybody in line, keeps guys, mentally sane. And we saw Stroman almost freak out a couple weeks ago. And, Judge calmed them down and he apologized after. And, like, that's what Judge is there for. We need a guy like Judge to hype the guys up, hype the team up, get us where we need to be in terms of the energy level. Because as you said, they are dead inside. They look like they have not played before. And by the way, Jazz Chisholm leading off this year, 212 plate appearances, hitting .254. 430 slugging, not bad. 8 homers, 21 RBIs. He leads off for you, like, instantly if you want him to. Is that where you would have him play? If you acquire him, do you have him lead off?
That's a good question. I mean, I'd consider it. Like, he doesn't have the plate discipline in terms of, like, walk rates, but this is what I would also argue. Like, the guy at the top of the lineup is getting pitched to, right? Like, pitchers aren't pitching around him. Why would anyone pitch around Jazz Chisholm at the top of the Yankee lineup when Soto and Judge are behind you? Especially, like, you could say, well, Judge is cold right now. Soto has, like, I don't know what's wrong with his hand exactly, but his hand, it's clearly hurting him, right? And he's hitting bombs. He's a threat at the plate. He's hammering the baseball. Judge is a threat at any point in time to just snap out of it and just start dropping bombs again. So, Alex, I mean, Chisholm's going to love getting pitched to because he's going to get pitched in the zone to hit. And I think he's going to be able to take advantage. We saw what Rice did, but Rice had a 3-home run game because the Red Sox basically throwing him pitches down the middle. Like, dude, we can't walk this guy and face Soto and Judge. And he was like, okay, I'm just going to bomb all of these pitches, right? And that's the thing I like about Rice a lot. Whenever he gets a pitch to hit, he's not seeing it to the glove. He's taking the bat off his hands. And I think, I'm not sure if players on the team are aware you're allowed to do this. When you're up in the count, you are allowed to swing. It's not against the rules to swing at a good pitch to hit. It's not. Despite what half the lineup was doing right now. And this is, sorry. Gotta get back on track with Chisholm. Chisholm, I think, would fit well top of the line because he's aggressive in zone. I think the Yankees need a hitter who's going to be aggressive enough in zone. Not like a wild swinger, just a guy who, when they get pitches to hit, they usually swing. That kind of thing. Because they're going to get pitched to. They're not going to get walked. They're not going to get, a bunch of pitches out of the zone. They're going to get forced to do something, and Chisholm has the power to change, the scoreboard with one swing. And that's kind of the best way to define what this lineup needs. They need more guys who can change the game with one swing. Like, when Volpe comes up, you don't think, oh man, he's up with nobody on. Pitch him carefully, like he's gonna change the scoreboard. He's not, right? Best case scenario for the Yankees right now, he gets a single. He's a slap hitter right now. The Yankees need to completely fix that, but that's a different conversation. When Verdugo comes up, are you going like, oh boy, he could drive a ball now? You're like, might hit one into the ground, maybe a double, right? Like that kind of thing. When Trevino comes up, you don't go, whew. Like when Wells comes up right now, I'm feeling like, okay, he could change the game with one swing. He could really put a charge into a ball. Rice, I feel that way with. Judge, I feel that way with. Soto, I feel that way with. I don't feel that way with, like, anybody else in the lineup, and that's concerning. Like, Chisholm brings that, and I need more of that, Alex. I like, in the postseason, this station-to-station shit isn't going to work.
No, not at all. And look, he will be aggressive. I think Rice has been a breath of fresh air to this lineup because he attacks pitches in zone. Anthony Volpe, for whatever reason, can't make contact in zone. He's chasing pitches out of the zone more than he ever has. Problematic, to say the least. Austin Wells, I've wrote about him routinely recently. He is blossoming. Like, Austin Wells looks phenomenal. And, we're looking at a situation where, look, Jose Trevino's great. I mean, he's a great defensive player offensively. He is what he is. He's going to regress back to his usual numbers for sure, and he already is. But I think Augustin Ramirez and Austin Wells could be the best dynamic at catcher in baseball, like long term. I think they have that level of talent and upside. Wells is starting to showcase that lefty bat and the power he contains. He's not a bad athlete either. So I like what the Yankees have going on there a lot. Ben Rice, I think, could be a long-term solution at first base. Keep giving him reps and at-bats. Keep letting him be aggressive in zone. And, he had a great at-bat with runners on base. He was the only guy that I watched that had, like, a legitimately competitive at-bat with runners on base yesterday. He had that sac fly to left field and drove in a runner. He missed a couple pitches by, like, he was close. Like, there was a couple pitches I thought he was going to crank. So, he was patient. He didn't, swing at anything out of the zone like that. Like, he made some good contact. I was happy with his performance at bat. Sometimes he has some strikeouts, and, that's part of the learning curve for a player that just, got called up to the MLB. But I think that will improve over time as well. He looks fine to me for the most part. But yeah, like, Volpe has to get better. And Jazz, you can put him in the 5 spot. You can put him in the 1 spot. I mean, listen, ideally, this team would have somebody step up and be that number 1 hitter. I mean, Ben Rice could be that leadoff guy, but I don't think long-term that's a great solution, especially in the postseason. You probably want Jazz there. He's going to see a lot of pitches to hit. He's very aggressive in zone. He makes contact. The only problem with that, Ryan, is this. The Yankees can't get on base at the bottom half of their order, and Jazz's best attribute is hitting with runners in scoring position. So that's where I come to the thing, like, we kind of wanted to put him in a place where he's going to have guys on base. You know what I mean? For God's sake, we have freaking Verdugo hitting cleanup sometimes these days. Like, Jazz hitting 5th makes a lot of sense to me in this lineup. If we had someone that could lead off well. We just don't at the moment, so we'll see how things progress, guys. But happy to hear your thoughts below in the YouTube comment section. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. We'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.
Perfect.